This is Jim Minion from Two Loose Screws. I'm listening to Barbecue Central.
Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike your match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
And welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things important in the world of barbecue and grilling. This show originates from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and frivolity show. If you would like to get in contact with the show this evening, or you would like to follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you do all that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you can get the newsletter coming up in about 12 minutes from now. A first-timer to the show, a captain of industry, and somebody who has given a product to the market. Well, not necessarily new. I've seen it around at least for a year, perhaps even longer than that. It's one that I'm just kind of falling in love with. If you're somebody that lights charcoal and you're looking for something different than a charcoal chimney and something that can expedite the process, you might want to stick around for 14 past the first hour, where you will find a first-time guest and the creator of GrillBlazer.com, Bob Healy. Yes. And then 35 past the hour, longtime sponsor of this show. We call him El Presidente of Primo Grills, primogrill.com. Big announcement. We're going to get to it in about a half hour's time. Nick Bauer rejoins the show once more. Aside from the big announcement, the big reveal, we'll also talk about how business has been running for Primo and Broil Master and some of the other things that Nick has his hands in. And that'll bring a close to the first hour. Then we'll move to the second hour, fourth Tuesday of the month. If you can believe it, the first month in quarter number 2 is almost over. 2023, 2024 rapidly coming to a close. And of course, in the second hour, that brings a visit from the embedded correspondents, all of them. So you will know the stalwart standbys of Doug Scheiding on location, John Solberg, Michigan, Rusty Monson, great city of Utah, and joining us for the first time this evening, newly minted Tennessee embedded correspondent Matt Osmond. So Matt will be sitting in here this evening. We'll give it a trial run. I'm not saying that every embedded correspondent earns a position on the embedded correspondent dais monthly, but we're going to give it a shot. We're going to see how it goes. Matt has had 2 great appearances here solo, so why not mix him in with the guys and see how that runs? So that's how your show's laying out. Bob Healy, Nick Bauer, first hour, and embedded correspondence, second hour. Don't forget you can follow me socially, Instagram, X, TikTok, Snapchat, all at BBQ Central Show. We say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You can go to Facebook and Twitter, which is /BBQ Central Show to watch. You can also watch on YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show. We have a new YouTube poll question of the week, and we're asking everybody this. Before last week, you were familiar with the brand Momentum Grills, and currently 67% of you were saying no. It was a little higher than that just a few moments ago, but 4 or 5 more votes have cast in, so that gap has narrowed a little bit, and now we're at 70-30, so 70% of you saying no, and 70% of you saying no, 30% of you are saying yes. And results of last week's poll: does the acquisition of Barbecue Stars by AmazingRibs.com make you want to become a Pitmasters Club member if you aren't already? 41% of you said yes, and 58% of you said no. That delta was much wider throughout the balance of the show, and then right towards the end, it started to get almost 50-50. So it ended a lot closer than it ran for most of the show. In fact, 110 minutes of the show, it was a much wider gap than that on the nose, but got real close at the end. As expected, the segment with Jess Pryles talking about meat washing was a big reaction topic over the course of the week, as we both mentioned last week before we actually got into the meat of the conversation. This is a divisive topic that typically devolves very quickly in all the posts you will ever find it on social media, forums, the like. But it's important to continue to have these conversations, because my hope is someday people will hear us and stop doing it. But most importantly, it will break the cycle of continuance in family teachings. If it doesn't stop somewhere, it never stops anywhere. For instance, here's some feedback on the show last week. Dan in Minnesota writes, and perhaps my good pal and cigar-loving brother Jeff Andreezy knows Dan in Minnesota. Greg, I enjoyed your conversation with Jess Pryles last week, especially the meat washing portion. While I certainly appreciate her insight, knowledge, and expertise, if it's all the same, I'm going to continue rinsing my steak off before I get to cooking it. It just feels right to me. Love the show. Regards, Dan. Dan, as Jess mentioned, if she's given you all the reasons and the research shows there is no health benefit to doing it, and you're doing it just to do it, we have a word for that. It's called insolence. Dan, why are you being insolent to be insolent? Nobody likes that. And this is exactly what we were talking about. It's exactly what I just said. You're going to continue to do it. God forbid you have kids. You're going to teach them to do it. They're not going to know any better. If they don't go over to somebody else's house that's cooking meat and don't see somebody run it under a sink, they're never even going to question it. They're just going to continue. You're perpetuating it. Insolence is the word. Dexter in Nashville writing it. Greg, consider me a changed man after the Jess Pryles interview. I have been a secret chicken washer. Shameful, I know, but I couldn't let it go another day further after hearing everything Jess was talking about. It makes perfect sense to me, and while it might feel weird for a while, I know I'm doing the right thing. I certainly don't want to be insolent just because. I hope others heed her advice as well. Love the show. Regards, Dexter. So here you have opposing positions. You have Dan agreeing with Dexter in every form and fashion. The information, the feelings, all this, everything. But where Dexter has decided to stop it and break the cycle of continuance, Dan in Minnesota is going to remain insolent for insolence sake, which is something I never encourage. Don't be insolent for insolence sake. Terrence in Sacramento. Greg, is that Matt Osmond guy the same dude that said he left Miami because he was tired of, as he put it, going to jail? Love the show, podcast listener only. Regards, Terrence. Terrence, that is 100% correct. It's the same guy. Now Tennessee embedded correspondent. Thank you for writing in. Jamie in Utah closing it out. Gregory, great show as always, until you started talking about that dude from Hawaii again. Just kidding. Fake beef is entertainment gold. Jamie in Utah. Jamie's a super fan, by the way. Jamie usually gives me a weekly recap of some hot button items that he thought were great, and then he's relaxed off of that a little bit. So Jamie, always welcome to write in weekly. Always look forward to your reviews and your little zingers and all that. A fake beef, always entertainment gold. There's no doubt about it. And we're going to continue to talk about it because it's something that's not going away. And even though the chunk food products, being my fault, I had too much of an expectation of wanting it to be like 100% beef. If you're looking for the sub, this might be the one. I told you last week that I was going to have a website for you. As luck would have it, I don't. However, I do have it. But you email me and ask me for the chunk food info and I'll get it to you. In the meantime, let's learn about this beauty. Folks, I think we're running out of time. Right now, if you go to schwankgrills.com, that's SCHWANK, schwankgrills.com. You can save $150 off this sweet-ass cooker that you're looking at right now on the video. By the way, if you're getting it in podcast form later, go back to the video and see what this is if you don't know already. When you check out, either with the natural gas or liquid propane version, if you use promo code BBQ Central, all one word, you can save a whopping $150 off the retail price. No joke. You can save $150 off a Schwank grill. Now, Friday afternoon, I had an occasion to have lunch at Del Frisco's. I had a steak, a prime strip steak for lunch because I was taking a customer out. You know what? It was cooked under the Schwank Grills burners right there in-house. So firsthand and in a commercial fashion, I got to see what it was like, and it was spectacular. Now, you don't have to go to the high-end restaurants like the Del Frisco's, the Cut 432, the Morton Steakhouse. By the way, all using that Schwank Grill infrared burner technology in those places. Now you can just have it in the backyard. So if you don't want to mess with your traditional gas grill, or you don't want to mess around with charcoal, you have this ultra portable, high heat cooking machine that can do steaks incredibly well, depending on how thick, 3-4 minutes tops. But now you can do all your vegetables. You can do rack of lamb. You can do lamb chops, which I had Thursday while I was visiting my parents down in Tampa. You can have lobster tails. You can make board sauces in the drip pan at the bottom and have those fats as they're rendering out of the meat drop right down and flavor that butter bath you're going to rest that steak in anyway. Scallops, chicken wings, you name it. This thing's a cooking machine. And multiple levels of adjustment so you can control the heat intensity. Schwankgrills.com and then promo code BBQ Central for $150 off. But I don't know how long this is going to last. We're almost in the heart of grilling season. We're back with Bill Healy, Grill Blazer. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. You visit cookinpellets.com and see what they have to offer, and then when you're ready to buy, leave cookinpellets.com and instead go to amazon.com, walmart.com, or lowes.com. I tell you each and every week, best shipping rates there, same great products that you would find on cookinpellets.com, but at a much better shipping rate, which we all love. Good folks over at Cookin' Pellets. The charcoal chimney revolutionized how folks got their charcoal up and going, and since that time there have been many other charcoal lighting options to hit the market. Many fade away or see little traction. And tonight we talked to the creator of the Grill Blazer grill gun and sous vide gun, And as someone who has been actively using them for the past few months, I am here to attest to the efficiency and effectiveness of these torches. But how did this whole thing get started in the first place? Let's wonder no more as we welcome first-timer to the show, Bob Healy, joining us here. Bob, appreciate you joining me. And before we get into the grill guns talk, we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody. Before the show last week, not that I'm going to assume that you caught it, but of course I am. You were familiar with the brand Momentum Grills, yes or no?
No.
65% of the YouTube voting public is backing you up. They were not familiar with Momentum Grills, as we mentioned it last week with Wes Wright over at cookoutnews.com. Excited to have you here, Bob, and I'm wondering, before we get into the grill torches, previous background and anything professional, or have you just been a grill blazer all your life?
Oh, previous background. That's interesting. I spent all of my life actually as an engineer or manager of an engineering business or concern, developing products for other people. And I have a lot of experience traveling the world over and finding the right resources, the right people, the right companies to do things. And so when I decided to do Grill Blazer, I had an awful large repertoire of people and places to look for to help me get it started. So I'm no newcomer to designing new things, but this is the first time I decided to design something for myself and start a company from the ground up.
Grillblazer.com is the website if you want to check it out here as we're talking. So torches certainly aren't new to the industry. How do you go about developing a product that, in your estimation, is one that stands out?
Oh, well, you start with making a list of what you think the perfect torch would be. So that's what I did. I said, okay, I think it was 11 or 12 things long. These things had to be in a torch in order to make it work. So that's the notion of actually making the torch, but designing what it needs to look like and what the market needs to be. That's something different. So I had to kind of go through two phases. One was decide that there really was a need for this, and that came from decades really of lighting a charcoal grill with a run-of-the-mill weed torch, and having all the frustrations associated with a high-powered torch that was really just a piece of junk, and having to replace it 2-3 times a year. I decided in, I guess it was December of 2017, standing outside. It was snowing. It was 30 degrees. My sons and I had beer, and we were drinking, and I'd just thrown some steaks on the barbecue that I'd lit with a weed torch. But after having done that for decades, as I said, 2 decades of people watching me do that, nobody else was doing that other than some geeks on YouTube like me. And so I just looked at my sons and said, hey, what's it going to take to make this a thing so that everybody wants to do this? I mean, it's a new category. When I launched it, it was the very first high-powered grill torch designed for that niche on the market. And so I said, what's it going to take? And it didn't take them too long to convince me that it really needed to look like a gun, and that guys would just have to they'd just eat it up if I did that. So I, having decided that I was going to start a business, and I had made a list of 12 different things I wanted to do, because I had sort of been, downsized out of corporate America. I was no longer needed to design something for somebody else, and I decided I was going to do something on my own. So I made a list of things I wanted to do, and the third item on the list was light a charcoal grill with a torch and be successful. So that's how it all started. It was in December 2017, and sipping beer in the blowing snow after having just started steaks on the grill. And so that's in May of 2018, I was holding the first grill gun in my hands. I didn't know what I called it yet. I had several different names, but it was there. And my wife looked at it and said, she said, Bob, you're going to sell 1 million of those. So that started the whole road going, trying to figure out how to finance it and manufacture it and get it on the market. So now you have it today, and it's been out there since 2020 in February.
So in 2017, the idea is born in the bitter cold with beers. That's how the best ideas
Yes.
are born, of course. But within a year,
right.
you had prototypes to test?
Oh, so yeah, that was a cool experience. So from January when I started designing it to May when I was holding the first one in my hand, that's only 5 months.
Wow.
And then it took me until February, the next February of 2018. So no, February 2019. February 2019, I had gone down the road of trying to find financial capital to be able to do that sort of thing. And if I'd been doing a .com or a pharmaceutical or something like that, I'd have been covered up with money. But really, if you're going to try and sell something that's never been done before, and you first of all make it look like a gun, and then you make it shoot fire, your investors are kind of thin. I mean, there aren't very many of them out there.
I feel
And
like
so
Elon Musk would have been right all over this.
if I had only been friends with him, right? So, and he did something called, it's not a flamethrower, but his name, his brand allowed him to do that and, sell. I think he made 500 of them.
Yeah.
And made $10 million, and that's all he needed for his boring project in California. So that's aside, but anyway, those kind of things you pay attention to. And so I decided in February of 2019 now that if I was going to get the capital to do this, I was going to have to go through crowdsource funding because no investors were taking me seriously. And so I did launch. So 5 months later, now that knows 4 months later on Memorial Day weekend in 2019, I launched a Kickstarter campaign, and that ended up being it was in the 0.4 percentile of most successful Kickstarter campaigns at the time. It was very successful. I raised the $500,000 that I needed in order to be able to launch the company, and I had product in my hands in mid-February 2020. Oh, and anything else can you remember happening in February of 2020?
Yeah, sounds like a COVID year.
That's when, that's it. The whole world panicked and decided to stay inside. So there were lots of challenges to launching a product like this. But the neat thing about it is everybody was inside. And so people were in their mother's basement, on Amazon and other places trying to figure out what they wanted to buy. And wow, this is a great time to be selling a grill torch, a culinary torch, or two of them specifically, a grill gun and a sous vide gun. Two different markets, different purposes, one great company. And if you were to look it up at grillblazer.com, you'd understand what I'm saying. And to the time that we have, I would be happy to explain all that to you.
Is it easy to find a manufacturing partner? I know you had mentioned in your previous life you had built stuff for other people, so you had these relationships in place, and it was a phone call out to say, hey, I'm doing something on my own now, let's get going?
It was not quite that simple, but I had kind of date myself a Rolodex, if you will, or a
business cards,
some phone numbers of people. right I had people that I could call, and so I had built business and companies really all around the world over time. Again, not for myself, but for other people. So I had contacts, and I ended up contacting a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy, and so that's how it kind of happened. And I had to actually build a relationship, teach them to make the grill gun, go through all the contracts and everything that was necessary to make it, and do that real fast. But I did that all in 2018 before I in the due diligence of trying to figure out how to make this product come to existence. And so I just didn't have the money for it. And I didn't have any way to actually bring it to the market. So after the Kickstarter campaign, I was able to take off and go with it.
Explain from a high level how the product operates for those who aren't watching.
Okay, so high level, and I'll try and stay out of the technical weeds. Propane boils at a very cold temperature. It boils like water boils on a stove. Propane boils at room temperature. And it's been boiling since minus 40 degrees. I mean, it's really, really cold. If you went to Siberia and had propane sitting in a cup, you could probably drink it in the dead of winter because it's minus 40 degrees. And I wouldn't advise doing that because it would freeze you solid. So anyway, propane, when it starts to boil, it gases, and the unbridled gas that boils off of it. Think of just putting your pot on the stove full of water and turning it on high, and it just fills the house full of steam. That's the same thing that's going on inside of a propane bottle. But you contain that boiling with pressure. And so as you seal that off, like in a pressure cooker, a water pressure cooker, you close that off, it builds pressure until it stops boiling. And so it can be at 75 degrees or 100 degrees outside or 110. And it's the difference between minus 40 and 110 is how hard it wants to boil when you take the lid off or you open the valve on the propane bottle. And so you get this unbridled power that comes out of propane just spewing out of the can, but you have to control that through the torch. And so the grill gun harnesses that power. It doesn't work so well if you're 40 degrees below zero outside using it. It won't work. But once you get to freezing, it's boiling pretty well. And once you get up to room temperature in the summertime, even at 30 degrees in the winter, as I was doing my charcoal grilling, it's still boiling because there's still a 70 degree differential between the two. So anyway, you have all this power that's coming out of it through the torch, and you have to contain that. And so the hardest part for me was I wanted to build a safe tool that anybody could use. And when you build something that's got that much power and you unleash it, you let a handheld torch have 400, 500,000 BTU of power to just light charcoal instantly or sear meat in seconds. You've got to have it clean burning, and you have to have it under control so that it won't just shoot out like a flamethrower, shoot 5 feet of orange flame. That might be impressive to watch, but it's no good, in your charcoal. And I would see a lot of lawsuits, I'm afraid. So I had to design something that would work. So I had to create all of the artifacts in it that would make it the best torch you could buy, and then couple that with the safest thing that you could do. And the testimony really is that I've not been sued once. People aren't going out injuring themselves, and that's pretty unusual to have a company that is so focused on safety and so focused on the customer and the customer experience through customer service and the product itself, the quality of the product. You can go on Google and you can read the reviews, and you'll just see it's the best thing that's out there, regardless of the number of copycats that have come out afterwards. So
there's the big one.
I don't know if I answered your question.
Absolutely. The big one is there to light the charcoal grills, and then you have a smaller version, looks very similar, just size is different, and that's called the sous vide gun. So obviously the grill gun, self-explanatory, but how popular is the sous vide gun compared to the grill gun?
Well, everybody knows what outdoor grilling is like, and so it's a kind of a seasonal thing for the summertime and the spring and the fall. In the wintertime, people are not so much outside like I am, but people cook year round. And so the idea of the sous vide gun was born after I created the grill gun, because there really are, if you just do the metrics on it, there's 10 times as many people who are cooks than there are people who grill. And so the sous vide, S-O-U-S-V-I-D-E, is a French term for cooking without air, sous vide, no air. And so you do that by putting it in a plastic bag and sealing it like a seal a meal bag, and then putting that bag in water that you control the temperature in. So 128 degrees is about as cold or rare as you want. 165 is about as hot or well done as you want. And every temperature in between of your water bath is, some variant between rare and well done, medium rare, medium well, all those temperatures in between. So it's a very popular way of cooking. Anybody can do it. You can do it year round and do it in an apartment. You can do it outside, anywhere you want. But the sous vide gun is shorter and not as much power, but just as much heat. And so it's designed to create the Maillard effect, which is the conversion of proteins into sugars and then caramelizing them on steak. So that's why your steak looks brown when you throw it on a charcoal grill. But you can do that with a sous vide gun without spraying any hydrocarbons on your meat or giving it any torch test. Uniquely with the sous vide gun, all the other copycats, they can't do that. But you can do it with a sous vide gun, and so you end up with you sous vide your steaks. You know, have a party of 12, and you cook them all in a bath for a couple of hours. Open them up, sear them off in about 20 seconds each. Put them on a plate, let them relax, and it's the best. I mean, it's a very popular method of cooking. And before the sous vide gun, you'd either have to heat up a charcoal grill to do the sear, or get a cast iron pan on your stove cherry hot so that you could throw the steak in there and then open the windows in the house because you just filled it full of smoke. But the sous vide gun doesn't do that. So 2 tools, 2 markets, 2 needs. They're just amazing.
Price points for each?
Yeah, same price. They're so on Amazon or on my website, you can buy them for $180. You can buy the accessory bottle, a hose that goes to a bottle, which is, so it's an 8-foot hose. So if you were to go out to my grill, you'll see a grill gun hanging on the hook by the grill with an 8-foot hose attached to a 20-pound bottle, so that anytime and every time I go out there, I can just turn on the gas, turn on the grill gun, light the grill, and cook my food. Or you'll also see a sous vide gun hanging there with a 1-pound bottle attached to it. They both would run on the 20-pound, but the sous vide gun kind of goes inside the house, into the kitchen, or outside onto the grill. Depends on whether or not my wife wants me to be searing the meat on her stove, and she generally doesn't like that just because it's kind of a scary sound. So
only online
sounds
available?
like a jet engine that you hold in your hand.
Online available, or do you have
there are some
dealers?
There are some retail outlets that anybody can get them online worldwide. I'm in 52 different countries. As the market continues to grow and I protect the price point for the retailers, you'll be able to get them in stores. But box houses, they don't carry high-end quality like this. You know, it's lower-end stuff. So there are probably 75 retailers around the country and up in Canada and in Europe that are actually carrying them on the shelves, but you'd be harder pressed to find them. Easier to get them next day on Amazon or 2 days from my website. And you're dealing with me. I mean, my small group of people here that take customer service very seriously.
If you're interested in looking into a handheld torch that appears to be a gun but is spitting out rocket fire in a safe fashion, then Grill Blazer is where you want to go. Grillblazer.com. We're talking with the creator, Bob Healy. Bob, appreciate the info and continued success. Thanks so much for coming on tonight.
Thanks for the time.
Bob Healy. Let me tell you, these things are no joke. And I have not sous vide'd the steak yet, but that's actually on the agenda for this coming weekend. So I'll be happy to report back to Bob once we have that trial done. But lighting, so I've used it many times to light the Primo. And it is up and running, especially if I'm going to do the slower cook. Just start a little area in the charcoal. 40 seconds tops, because I'm using lump. That catches very quickly so you can see it. Gets all nice, red, cherry hot, and away you go. Now, if I want to get the thing blazing, it might take me a minute or two, but plenty powerful, as Bob said. So if you're in the market for something new to start those fires, grillblazer.com, the place you want to go. Mick Bauer is in the green room. We'll get to him here in just 1 second. Before we talk with him, we'll talk to you about Pits and Spits. You tired of settling for mediocre barbecue and grilling experiences? It's time to step your game up and bring the ultimate flavor and cooker to the backyard barbecues. Pits and Spits Charcoal Grills, offering the highest quality live fire cooking experience you can get in the market today, using either wood or charcoal. Their solid fuel grills produce those classic flavors you're looking for when you have the time to fire up the cooker and make dinner for family and friends. With a large adjustable fuel tray, you can raise and lower the fire to control and fine-tune the heat. Their take on the very popular Santa Maria style grill. Check them out at the website pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. That's pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. And as you're spelling it out, it's the double T on the pits and the spits. You can use promo code Charcoal Central for $150 off any charcoal grill that they have available for sale on the website. They do have dealers as well. Academy Sports comes to mind, but search around their website, see what they have. Pitsandspits.com. Excuse me. Pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central and promo code Charcoal Central for $150 off any charcoal grill that they have. We are back to talk new Primo stuff with Nick Bauer. Stick around, we'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And we thank Bob Healy for joining us last segment. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard 2. Monitored up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring, or you can connect via Bluetooth. There are a host of smart speakers in your home that will be compatible with Fireboard, so you go to fireboard.com. Or with questions, you call 816-945-2232. Ted Conrad and the gang out there at Fireboard. My next guest tonight, President of Primo Grills, longtime sponsor of this show, a company continuing to make quality moves in the live fire industry. Last time Nick was on, we were talking about the 2023 Primo Bash event that they were having at their manufacturing facility. And tonight we are officially announcing something new, literally something big. So let's go ahead and welcome back our pal Nick Bauer to the show. Nick, before we talk about the Primo stuff, we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody. I'm sure I can figure out an idea where you might be on this. However, before last week, you were familiar with a brand called Momentum Grills, yes or no? I'm sorry, Monument Grills, yes or no?
Yes, vaguely.
Vaguely it is. All right, before we get into the big talk, a little recap from the business side of things. Nick, how did 2023 end up, and what's the first half of this year look like for you guys?
I will say probably the best part about 2023 was that it is over. As you know, COVID led to a tremendous spike in demand and then a tremendous decline in demand. So I think probably the most positive of this last couple year cycles is that the craziness up and down is over. So now we can go back to kind of normal world and normal planning and normal demand curves and forecasting. And that's it makes my job a lot easier than trying to predict the future when every couple of months it changes.
When it's that volatile from a sales and supply side, are you able to continue to accumulate new dealers, or does that play part of a problem?
Yeah, it's, every new dealer you add is old dealers mad because they can't get product, and it's a tremendous amount of effort, and the sales were great, but it was not fun at all because someone's always wants more, and you can't get vendors or freight or whatever it is. So it's now I like boring. It's my job as president to try to have as boring company as possible, because boring is you can plan and you can strategize, and it's better on the employees. It's less pressure, less demand. So, being back to boring is fun. Now we're doing new stuff, we're new products, we're doing new markets, more accessories, more promotions like Primo Bash. So this is the fun part of my life. Being out there doing new things, meeting new people, doing new events and product and things like that.
Where do you think Primo brand visibility is in the market right now is?
Oh, we get our butts kicked. I mean, I fully believe that of the people that know about the three brands, that we win the majority of that business. But I think the majority of people don't understand there's three brands. I think they see the one at Costco and Lowe's, and they see the one that's been around for 30 years, that's green and has the best dealer network out there. And, I hear from so many people when they find out about Primo, go, I wish I would have known a Primo 15, 20 years ago when I got my grill, but I didn't know you guys existed. So that's why we're doing stuff like this. That's why we appreciate your support here. And, we're trying to get our name out there as much as possible, because I think we win the business when people know that there's three people, not just two.
How do you overcome that I don't even want to say, how do you increase it this year? Because it sounds like, from everything that you're saying, we have decades of work to make up for. And when you look at it, you didn't create Primo. You bought it a couple of years ago, and now you're
4 years.
Yeah, you're doing your best efforts to overcome maybe what wasn't in place. So in a 5-year span, from here in 2024 to bridging into 2030, where would you like to be?
Yeah, so we're 4 years into this, going into 5 years. I think we've done a great job with all the new accessories, all the new hinges, and all the issues that people maybe had 10 years ago, they don't have anymore. So these next 5 years is about promotion, and getting out there and just working harder. Going to more open houses, having our reps on, working on weekends, doing Primo bashes, going to Memphis and Mays type stuff. We did a beach thing, a Jeep beach thing down in Florida. I didn't know the Jeep beach thing, but it's working hard. It's the business school basics. You got to work hard. You got to build market share. The market doesn't just give you business. And we're a 92-year-old family business. We didn't think we were going to make Primo from number 3 to number 1 in 4 years. I got 30 to 40 more years of working to make that happen. And that was the plan when we bought the brand 4 years ago. This is a 20 to 30-year mission. And then, quite frankly, it'd be someone else's job besides mine.
So let's get into it. Big news coming out of Primo, and we almost had an exclusive, but if you're keeping your pulse or your finger on the pulse of live fire, you saw it towards the end of last week, which, of course, is the release of something called the Primo XXL, which we certainly love. Tell us all about XXL.
Yeah, yes, sir. And if you watch my social media, I've let it out like the last couple of weeks, and my marketing guy is sitting next to me, and he's pissed about it because I don't follow any of our rules that we're supposed to. So the XXL is our largest unit, and the XL is 400 square inches, and it's like 60 to 70% of our sales. We have 4 sizes, and one size is the vast majority, and people just want bigger. So this is the first new unit Primo's introduced in 10 to 12 years, because it's a pain in the butt to do molds that come from the UK. It's a lot of effort and it's a lot of money. But we're 500 square inches now, so we're 25% bigger than the XL, and it's really going after that. People who just love to cook multiple briskets, are a big pig. Like, we're going to do some video content to show what type of pig we can actually fit in the whole thing with it being oval. So it's exciting. It's I think I personally don't need 400 square inches for my family, but a lot of people out there cook a lot more than I do, and cook for a lot of people. For like the restaurants that we have that cook on our stuff, are super excited. So yeah, it's 500 square inches. It's the XXL. And it's in production now, and it's pretty exciting. It's something new. It's going back to like, how do we win more share? You got to introduce new stuff. You can't just try to sell the same stuff you sold for 12 years, 15 years.
A year ago, we were at the HPB Expo in Louisville, Kentucky. Wasn't it there? Or am I imagining things?
We showed a prototype.
Okay.
But that wasn't in production. It didn't come off of our mold. That was like a hand prototype. So we're just showing the size and seeing if people really wanted that big a unit, because it's hundreds of thousands of dollars to introduce a single unit like this. So we needed to make sure the market was there.
How long of a time frame does it take to go from concept of XXL to having something ready to go?
To final production,
Yeah.
Probably 18 months.
Oh, so not that long.
And it's not that long, but it's a lot of steps that have to happen.
Is this a customer-driven thing more than anything else, or is this a Primo-driven thing more than anything else?
I think it's both because I think Primo as an organization, like I said, realized that 70% of our sales went to one model, and it's the largest model. So we've also looked at doing a small model, like a mobile, like a 90 pounder. You can take, tailgating and camping. But you look at, and we will eventually do that. But when we're deciding which one we wanted to do first, it's, well, where are the sales? The sales are on the bigger models.
Do you have a MSRP on these things at the moment?
Oh, yeah, it's out there. If you follow our social media. So basically we priced it. It's about 23% more expensive than the current XL, and it's 25% bigger. So we're giving a slight discount off of the list prices, but it's, I don't have it off the top of my head because it's on a cart, without a cart. There's 4 or 6 different models out there.
Maybe I recall seeing 2,500. Is that like a safe number to throw out there, depending on cart and whatnot? I'm
looking at the marketing guy. I think 22 to 25, or he's pulling up the price list right now. Yeah, here's 2,200 by itself, and you go up from there.
All right. As far as where it's made, a lot of people talk about assembled in America. A lot of people talk about made in the USA, but when it comes down to brass tacks, maybe they're looking at other places. Primo's unique, fairly unique in the space, not completely unique, but you guys are made in Southern Illinois. Yeah,
it's something we're very proud of. It's actually Southern Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri.
In Poplar Bluff, Missouri. So my family has been in North American-based manufacturing since 1932, and we have 7 different manufacturing sites throughout North America making things, fireplaces, gas logs, wood stoves, and Primo is one of our products. And we make what we sell. We don't just import. And it's in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. If you want to see the plant, it's one of my favorite videos. You can go to the Primo website. It is right there. In fact, it only has like 10,000 views, which kind of annoys me because I'm so damn proud of that plant. And I spent so much money on this video, and like no one's watching it right now. So I keep sending it to my sales guys. Hey, send this to other people because it's something we're so proud of. We just haven't gotten the views I wanted to get. But yeah, it's right on our website. Go see it. The employees are incredibly proud. We just had the Eclipse down there. We had 4 minutes of totality, and we had a family day, so we took an hour because the kids were out of school. So the employees brought their kids, and we had a nice little lunch, and we cooked on the Primo, and it's something we're really proud of because you can say it's better because you can control manufacturing and this and that, but it's what my family has done for a living for 4 generations is we employ North American manufacturers. And we control our manufacturing, and we could take the easy route out, and we can import from China. I could have 90% less employees, which would be 90% less headaches, but that's just not who we are. And that's why Primo was such a good fit when we bought it, because their core tenets of North America's manufacturing is what my family has done for 92 years.
Being in business for 30, 40 years, over that time, have you seen a decrease in margins on your side, or have you really had to work at making sure, maybe in the beginning it was a better business to be in, and over time there's just new things introduced into market, so you got to be more competitive in some ways. How have you seen the business of margin either stay the same, decrease, increase over time?
Yeah, I would say the old products, the products that haven't been updated for 10, 15 years, whether it be a vented space heater or an old style gas grill, like we own Brawlmaster Gas Grill. That's been around since 1965.
My neighbor has one.
Yeah, and they last for that long. The problem is they last for 30, 40 years. You only buy one of them. Yes, you need to constantly be changing, coming out with new stuff because people don't, those companies just go away. I mean, look how many grill brands were around in the 60s, 70s, 80s that don't exist anymore. So you have the margin pressure, but then a lot of the smaller companies that aren't as efficient and aren't as great as managing the actual business, they just go away. You have the margin pressure, you have the competitive pressure, but unfortunately, like the bigger just keep getting bigger and the smaller guys struggle to compete. So you have to be okay with growth. You have to be okay with investment. We leave the vast majority of every profit dollar in the business every year because you have to. Yeah.
Hey, there you are. All right, cut out there at the end.
All right.
I wanted to ask you one more question in regards to the XXL. You've done an incredible job adding accessories since we began our relationship. Do you have the same accessories for a grill like this, or do you have to go back and retool everything? The basket, the pizza oven, all these other great accessories that you've brought out to the existing line. Is this a whole new project?
Yeah, like the basket will fit all 4 sizes or 5 sizes. So, we're smart enough when we did that, or just got lucky. But no, the pizza oven, the rotisserie, the rings, all those are all brand new SKUs. So everyone's like, oh, it's just one model. Well, it's not just, it's 4 or 5 models of the head. It's 20 or 30 different accessories. So, new product, new stuff is expensive. It costs money for the molds. It costs money to develop the accessories. It costs money to carry the finished good inventories over the next 10, 15 years. So that's why a lot of people don't do it. It's like I get credit here for just talking about a new model, but there's a team of 10 or 15, 20 people that really deserve the credit because they flew over to the, my quality guy flew over to the mold manufacturer north of London a couple months ago to make sure the molds were being made properly, from purchasing, from the marketing, from the design guys, from the people that do the. I mean, it's a massive team effort, and they really deserve the credit.
Any promotional events or hardware shows? You'd mentioned something about Memphis in May. What do you have coming up here over the next 4 to 6?
I should know that. What are future events?
More open houses.
We're focusing on a lot of the open houses for the local dealers.
Yeah.
To where, the local dealer, the mom and pop, the family business, our grill guy, he's going to like 10 or 15 this year, and he's been to a couple. We did the Jeep thing. I don't think we're going to do a Primo bash this year. I think we'll do that every other year because I think we're going to focus more on the local stuff. I will say the promotion we're running now, so we're taking pre-orders on our website, which is just if you go to the Primo shop Primo, as you just follow social media, you'll see the link. And it's $50 for a pre-order, which goes towards the cost of the grill. And we're really doing this not to just get $50 on our website, but we're doing something special for the first couple, I can't say how many people are getting something special, but we want to do like a thank you for being one of the first people to buy the XXL. Thank you for believing in us. So it's more of a way to offer special gifts to people that the average person isn't going to get in a year or two from now. So if you check out our Primo, social media on Facebook or Instagram, the links are there. Or if you I'm Empire Group Nick on Instagram, or I'm Primo Nick on Facebook. So if you have any questions or comments, or one of the guys, he goes, oh, I didn't know that. I just bought mine from my dealer already. I'm like, all right, well, send me your address and I'll send you something. So if you end up getting a grill and doesn't get one of the special things and you want it, just reach out to me and we'll make something happen for you.
The website, primogrill.com. So go ahead and pre-order now, because not only do we love bigger Primo grills, we love a potentially cool free gift to make us feel special. And then keep your eye out on all social media. Nick, really appreciate you coming on tonight talking about the genesis of the XXL, and we'll track its progress. We'll love to have you back on again soon. Thanks so much for the support.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, bud.
You got it. There's Nick Bauer right there. So let's say $2,200 to $2,500, and you get 25% more cookers. So 400 square inches to now 500 square inches. A lot more burgers, multiple briskets, additional pork butts, the whole deal. You're gonna love it. I love the XL. Can you imagine how much more I would love the XXL? I would love it at least 25% more. By the way, this portion brought to you by Primo Grills. That's right. Who even knew? Did you know? You knew that Primo is currently taking pre-orders for their XXL. Well, of course you do. You just heard Nick Bauer talking about it. You can venture up your $50 US and hold your spot in line for that new XXL to be produced. And then depending on where you fall on that reservation deposit, you're going to get something really cool that nobody else might get forever and ever. Amen. Now you have the biggest oval out there. Now, Greg, when you warm it up, will the ceramic still hold the heat? Yes. Can you still do wicked overnight cooks in the summertime, perhaps over 24 hours long on a load of charcoal? Yes. Do you need an automatic temperature control device? No, you don't need one. Nice to have one? Your call. Accessories, as Nick said, will all be there for the XXL. Now, you can only buy these through dealers unless we're talking about the XXL. Then you go online, do the deposit, and they'll probably send you to a dealer to pick it up. But outside of that, the other versions of the oval, go to your local dealer or find one at primogrill.com. Then visit them, touch them, feel them, and then, look, take it from me. Bring home the XL at a minimum, and then put $50 down on the XXL. Now you have the XL, the XXL. I'm no mathematician, but I think if you put them together, you would have XXXL, the porno of grills. Come on, triple XL. Primogrill.com. That's primogrill.com. We're back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
We thank Nick Bauer, president, owner, and overall headman at Primo Grill, Empire Comfort System, Broil Master. Does anybody know what a Broil Master is? Those were the gas grills that were sunk in the post in the backyard and like had a direct line into the gas. My neighbor in Euclid, now we're going on 20 years ago, had one in his backyard that was probably already 30 years old. That thing's 60 years old now, and it's still in the backyard. I went by the old house, the old house, a few days ago, and I have to go drive down the street. I can see into his backyard. So as I'm peering into his backyard, there's the Broil Master. I should contact his wife and see if there's any way I might be able to get my mitts on that and stick it in my backyard. That way it can live back there for the next 60 years. I'm going nowhere. Anyway, as Nick said, primogrill.com, the website. If you want to put in a pre-order / deposit on the newly released, announced, and I don't know, $50 deposit goes against the overall cost of the new Primo, and it looks like they're going to be hitting the market this summer, so let's say 2-3 months. If you're lucky enough to get your hands on one of them, I would love to hear you talk about it. Actually, now that I think about it, Malcolm saw an XXL. I don't know if he got the cook on it or not, but we'll ask him next week when he comes on the show. Primogrill.com is the website to do that. And that was our pal Nick Bauer. Also, we thank Bob Healy from Grill Blazer. Grillblazer.com is his website, so if you're looking for a new way to light your charcoal, highly suggest it's very, look, it might be a little expensive, little sticker shock type of thing. This thing's lasting forever. And it's got some really unique safety features. My suggestion, word to the wise, everybody, if you're going to get it, make sure you watch the supplemental videos, because the more you fluctuate that or tilt that thing, especially if you're using the 1-pound gas cans, it's got that check valve and it's going to shut everything off. And if you're not aware of that in the beginning, you'd be like, this thing's broke after 30 seconds. It's not. You're an idiot. Look at the videos. It will even tell you in all the paperwork and stuff when you open the box, before you use it, watch the videos. Don't disregard it. Watch the video. Again, word to the wise. Watch them tomorrow as you're listening to the replay of this show. So when you buy them, you're ready. Refresh your libations. We're back for the second hour. Stick around, we'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.